That's right. We are live. Welcome to the bottom of the rabbit hole, Matrixologists. We're going to do a live stream. I noticed it had been, a few weeks since we did a live stream, and there's a Matrix 4 story floating around the internets. So I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about that, and hopefully any newcomers who have subscribed to the channel will join us and ask questions if they haven't had a chance to ask questions yet. But as usual, we are here with our resident advisor at Vesuvius MXO.
Hello, everybody, and it's good to be back on YouTube with some Matrix news.
Yeah, and it's a story. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. Let me just tweet this out real quick and let everybody know we're here. Yeah, it was a story that I saw it a couple days ago, and so okay, we got somebody up in the room here. Hello. So I saw this story a couple days ago, and what jumped out for me, the cool thing for me, seeing the original source is sfgate.com. So that's like a local San Francisco news outlet. So the reason why that's notable to me is because when I originally reported that the Matrix 4 was going to shoot in San Francisco, this was the source that leaked that information way back then. Because I don't know if you remember, V, like originally when they were saying they're going to shoot, they said it was going to be Chicago and Berlin, right?
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember you were right up on top of it.
That's thanks to SF Gate. So I trust this source.
Yeah, so it's coming full circle.
But yeah, please, guys that are joining the room, please like the stream as you come on in. I always forget to say that, but definitely give the live stream a like to let other Matrixologists know we're in here live. And yeah, we got a couple people. So you wanna go on and get into the meat of this thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh, number 7 jacking in. Shout out. So yeah, so let's see if I can pull up the article here, the original, because that's the thing. I mean, at first I was like, I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I mean, story, they posted this on, what's that say, May 24th. See if I can share my screen here. And but then I just kept seeing it over and over and over again. I'm like, a lot of people are running with this. So, let's dive in and see what the hubbub is about. So it says, here's how much SFPD were paid during the filming of The Matrix 4, Venom 2, and Shang-Chi. And I remember that. While they were shooting in San Francisco, The Matrix 4, at the exact same time, it was overlapped with the Venom 2 shoot. So when I was looking for clips, for the Matrix 4, the video leak videos that I have here, there's like 3 of them, right? But I had to like seriously vet which clips, because people were sending in clips that were from Venom 2, and I'm like, no, that's not Matrix. You gotta make sure it's Matrix clips, not Venom clips. I think one still image might have got by me. There's like this like really weird looking glowing green box that kind of changed colors with some like LED lighting. That might have been Venom related. So my bad if I slipped that into one of the Matrix videos. But that's probably the only one, and that could be Matrix related. It was labeled Matrix 4, but again, that could be one of those kind of mistakes. But anyway, back to this story. So the San Francisco Police Department was, blocking off streets and, doing some of the outside security for these movie shoots. And let's scroll down here. So it says, right, according to documents obtained by SF Gate from the San Francisco Police Department, Adobe Pictures, the producers behind the film, paid the SFPD $420,000 for their services. For context, that's more than 2 other recent blockbusters shot in San Francisco combined. Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, paid $162,000, and Venom, Let There Be Carnage, spent $192,000. So that's the scale of which the San Francisco Police Department got paid to run security for all of these films, which, is close to $1 million right there. But yeah, what are your initial thoughts with this story circulating around the internets all week?
Well, it's not plot related. It's not like tantalizing, but it's a start. I think we're going to start getting some little tidbits here that have to do with, around like the production of it. Maybe the outliers, but it's good to get some news. As far as the amount, okay. So as far as security, I'm not in the industry, so it's going to be hard for me to speculate accurately on what this means. But I think that with with the amount, it's supposedly it was a longer shoot. It was like almost 3 weeks, and with what they were doing with the chopper, and I think they did the jump scene there.
Yeah, that was definitely San Fran for sure.
So, so I think it was just closing off streets and keeping them closed for certain times, or maybe even clearing the streets, for between takes or something.
Yeah, so you brought up a bunch of things. The first thing I want to address just before I forget is you mentioned that jump shot, that famous jump shot, and the one that I had saw a bunch of different angles of, because I got like one of the first ones. The stunt double, the male stunt double was blonde, right?
Yes.
But then there's a later one. I guess there was a reshoot, or maybe that was just the test one that we saw. But I did actually see a later one where the stunt double had dark hair. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. Um, but back to the amount of security that they paid, like you said, it probably ran longer, and also, I mean, they were tearing San Francisco up. So I think they were using a lot more of the city than the other films. Because I mean, we saw a lot of Matrix 4 footage, and part of that is the hype. I get that, but part of it was that I think that they used more of the city than everybody else, so that's why their bill was more than twice as much. That said, as soon as I saw the amount, I mean, I got to tell you, because you brought up that hopefully this will kind of bring about more Matrix 4 news that we're going to see soon here. Now, last week was when Tiger Chen had his interview. And I don't know if you remember way back when we first heard about the Matrix 4, he was one of the first people to post pictures of the set being built. And then when they got to Berlin, he was one of the first people on Instagram posting, that they had touched down in Berlin. So I'm hoping that his interview is a sign that the radio silence is going to come to an end, and we're going to start having some more Matrix 4 news to talk about and discuss here.
Yeah, and that was a very nice interview that he did. It's a little bit slow paced, but there's if you're a fan of action movies and martial arts movies, and that was a really cool interview. Yeah, so what he had on his sleeve was very interesting. I think we'll get into that. And yeah, I do recall the one because I know that you shared it. I think you shared it on Instagram, and then you did a video first of him in Berlin. So, but my question, I wonder if they're telling him like, "Hey, you got to be a little more quiet," or if they're just kind of letting him do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's weird that he seems to be like the first guy to talk. So it's weird if he gets a green light or if he's just bold with it. I don't know. But yeah, I did watch, and I linked in my video. I linked the full interview so you can watch the whole thing. I did watch the whole thing, and yeah, when I listened to his interview, I didn't know about like Unleashed and the fact that he and Keanu had made that film together. From a production standpoint, not that they were just acting in it, so that's pretty cool that they have such a strong relationship, Tiger Chen and Keanu Reeves. Because, as he explained in that story, working with him on The Matrix was the first time they met, and he didn't even know who he was. They were like, "Oh, have you seen Speed?" And he's like, "Oh, the guy from Speed. Yeah, I love Speed." So, to go from The Matrix to having a full collaborative experience, making their own movie, I think is really cool. And I think it speaks to the camaraderie and the bonds that were born from that Matrix experience, from that first film.
Yeah, agreed. And he did say that Keanu was like the hardest working actor as far as that martial arts training, that he was very impressed with his work ethic. And he's very reserved, so it's not like he got over the top, but he probably doesn't throw out those comments, you know. to everybody. And he's worked with a lot of people. I mean, all his films are martial arts films. People got to train. People got to show up in shape. And he was very impressed with Keanu's work ethic. And Keanu, he was actually in really good shape for Speed too. I mean, Speed as well, not the movie Speed 2, as we know.
Yeah, Keanu wasn't in the sequel, but yeah, I follow you.
But he was in really good shape for that freaking movie. I mean, he was coming off, Bill and Ted, so that was like a big jump for him.
Yeah, and you spoke about his apparel in that interview, which for anybody who watched the end of my video, I did point out that Tiger Chen was wearing his Matrix Resurrections hoodie. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a nice variety of Matrix 4 gear that the cast and crew has been sporting. So that kind of speaks to your point that, there might be like a group memo or a group email or a group text that kind of goes out and says, hey, you guys can rock your gear now or something like that.
Yeah. So as far as the Resurrections, so I watched the entire interview because I'm just so curious to see if it says resurrections. So let's see if I could catch that S on the end. And I think that we saw it in the first leak with I forget the gal's name, the makeup artist, where she showed off the coat. I think that we saw an S at the end, but it's not kanji. I was actually corrected on this last week. It's not kanji characters. It's a different language of characters. But so
really,
the coat, the inside of the coat.
It's got to be katakana then.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Somebody on the Discord channel corrected me. I think it was Stack. So big shout out to Stack on Discord. So he corrected me, but it being the Matrix code, I'm not like 100% that it's Resurrections. And the other thing is that there's a website. I think Warner Brothers owns the Matrix Resurrection.com, and that'll forward you to Warner Brothers, or there's some weird combination where they don't the Matrix Resurrections plural doesn't reroute to them, but the singular tense of that does. So I'm like very curious to see if it's plural or not.
Now the thing about it is, I do agree in I can't remember the makeup artist's name off the top of my head, but there's a video about it, and in that video I am pretty sure that we saw the S at the end of the inside lining of her jacket. I do believe in that video it was Resurrections plural with the S on the end. However, when you mention the URL, the one that the Warner Brothers owns the domain name, I did a video about that, and I'm pretty sure that they created that domain name in like 2009, 2010 maybe. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Oh, so her name, well, at least her Instagram screen name was Shunikat, the makeup artist. And
yes,
and also,
correct.
And also around 2009, wasn't that when that other news group, I don't know who they are, but they predicted, or they did like an April Fool's, that it was the Matrix Resurrections?
Right. And that video's been floating around lately. I definitely saw that that screenshot lately, right?
But that's got to be so cool to be them and call that so far in advance. I wonder if they had some inside knowledge, because there was always these little rumors about another Matrix coming out, and 2009 almost seems like an appropriate time for it to come out. It was actually the end of the Matrix Online.
Right. And then that's the other thing too. I mean, it could work both ways. Like maybe they had some inside information, or someone like, saw the domain name get taken, and that's why they made that prediction. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe, like Lana Wachowski saw that video and she's like trolling a little bit. I don't know.
Do you think there's any chance that they switch it up at the last minute and go with a different title?
Well, that's the thing, dude. That's why I just said that. I mean, between everybody being allowed to rock their resurrection gear all of a sudden, and the fact that the makeup artist kind of leaked the story, it seems, Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we got some type of misdirection play or switch up at the last minute here. Actually, am I sharing my screen? I'll share my screen. I actually found the so right after the Tiger Chen interview recently, where he's rocking his resurrection gear, Jada Pinkett Smith put on her resurrection hoodie, and like I said, hers is different. She doesn't have resurrections on the sleeves; it's on the back of hers. But to your point, the picture cuts off right where the S would be if there is one. Now, alignment wise, I'm pretty sure there's enough room for an S there. I don't know.
Yeah, there's room, but I just got to satisfy me. This is what we're down to right now. This is it. We pretty much have the title, but it's the last couple of letters. Like I have to complete the puzzle.
In due time, in due time. Shout out to Radio Chaos who just joined us in the live stream. Yeah, and so that's the back of her hoodie, right? The front has the two pills here, the red and the blue pills. I'm trying to remember who else rocked this hoodie. Was or maybe it was a t-shirt. Was it Priyanka Chopra? Someone else wore this one on their Instagram. But right. So Tiger's hoodie had the Matrix 4 on the front, the Resurrections on the sleeve. Jada's hoodie has the pills on the back, the pills on the front, the Resurrections on the back. The makeup artist had a jacket with the Resurrections in the inside lining. Keanu Reeves had on a Matrix 4 t-shirt, which could have had Resurrections on the back. So like I said, there's a variety of, in-house cast and crew Matrix 4 gear. I think I would imagine they're consistent. I would imagine if we saw plural in the inside lining of the makeup artist's jacket, that they're all probably Resurrections. But it's just funny how like they won't give it to us now. They won't show us the whole shot anymore.
I have to know. It's a splinter in my mind. By the way, I have the source for the joking title, and it was slashfilm.com. There was something written in January by Ethan Anderton, and it was a title that we jokingly predicted in 2009. So shout out to Slashfilm. That's pretty cool, and that's pretty funny.
Okay, so it was 2009. Yeah, no, good call. With digging that up. So back to the security numbers, right? And I kind of alluded to this after what was it, the Tiger Chen interview? I don't know. I said it recently. Oh, I think it was the podcast that we just did recently. Just how the last live stream we did was about the CGI markers on Keanu and Carrie Ann in Berlin.
Yes.
And how, okay, yeah, on the one hand, they could be doing reshoots. They could be shooting for the Matrix 4. They could be shooting for a video game, in which case what I'm about to say would be irrelevant. But if they were doing reshoots, and then you factor in the fact that they paid the San Francisco Police Department almost $500,000 for security, I mean, I just really have a hard time believing that the December date is going to stick and then it's going to have an HBO Max release. I mean, the bottom line is this is a big budget film and they spared no expense. And then on top of that, you have the pandemic delays and budget expenses that they didn't plan to begin with. So it just, to me, when you do the math, when you look at the numbers, it seems to me like this thing is going to have a straight up theatrical release. And I could be wrong. And for the sake of the Project Matriculated event at Vibe, I would like the Wednesday, December 22nd date to hold. But yeah, it seems like the circumstantial evidence is piling up that another date change is coming.
Well, you said that for a while, and you've been right on with a lot of your speculation. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and especially you seem to have an understanding of the business, and with that going streaming and theaters same day, people are just going to stay home and wait a couple hours, and it's going to show up on the pirated websites and the streams, and it's going to hurt the film. So yeah, I'd like to have it in. Uh, I'd like to have it in December. I'd like to have it as early as possible, just because I want to watch the movie, but I really want to see the franchise succeed and do as well as they can. And if the movie doesn't do so well because it's just not that great, then so be it. But to have that released and pirated, it's going to affect the the margin and the profit of the film, and it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think you said it all right there. I mean, it comes down to numbers. It's a business, and that's why I'm making the prediction that I'm making, is because when you look at the hard numbers, a theatrical release will have a bigger return. And to your point, you said it. I hate to say it. I don't want to speak it into existence, but you did say it already. When you have an HBO Max release, I mean, with a franchise this big, the pirators and the bootleggers are going to be out anyway, no matter what. But you give them an HBO Max release, and that's almost like a license to steal. Like you said, I mean, it'll be up for torrent downloads in a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours, it really will. And the other thing, the thing that doesn't look so good is The Simpsons predicted it would be a Matrix Christmas.
they did, and a delay would take that out of the timeline. So we'll see if that holds up. If the Matrix predictions, or excuse me, if the Simpsons predictions will continue to be hitting. I mean, they're definitely hitting over 500 so far. Real quick, in the comments we have, do you think we will get to see all the deleted scenes? Okay, so that's a good question. I believe you're talking about deleted scenes in regards to Matrix 4 and not the original, because if you're asking about the original, that's not going to happen. The Wachowskis already said that they're not doing that. So to answer your question about Matrix 4, if that previous decision was more of a Lily Wachowski thing than a Lana Wachowski thing, then you got a shot. But if I had to guess, we're probably not going to have, a DVD extra that has deleted scenes or any type of director's cut. What are your thoughts on that?
Deleted scenes, I don't think we're going to see any of them ever. The Wachowskis seem more so to me like artists first and business people second. And I think they do pretty darn good business, considering that their movies since The Matrix haven't been all that great, and they're still doing what they want to do. They're artists first, and and that's how you got to live, really. I really enjoyed Speed Racer because it looked like a psychedelic real life cartoon, and it was based on Speed Racer. It wasn't going to be another Matrix, but that movie looked absolutely fantastic, and I think that was a really, really good success for them and for their studio. It may have not have done the numbers, but I think it was mission accomplished. I think their vision was put on screen, and really that's what you want to do when you're in the business.
Well, in fairness, when you're talking about measuring success, yeah, okay. If you want to talk about the numbers, and I don't have the numbers of the other films in front of me, so I can't speak to how well or poorly Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas and those films did in the box office. I can't speak to that at this moment, but like you said, I personally enjoyed Speed Racer. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't like the sequels to the original Matrix. And I feel like there's kind of like this stigma that they haven't made anything good since the Matrix. But I disagree. I thought Cloud Atlas was pretty good. I mean, a lot of people forget about V for Vendetta. I haven't seen Ninja Assassin. It was on Netflix, and then now it's not. So I'm kind of waiting for it to come back. I don't know how long it takes to like come back in the rotation. That I did miss that. And I can't remember what production credit they have on that. It wasn't just them that made that. But
maybe screenplay.
Yeah, something like that. But they were involved with the production, but that's the only one that I can think of that they've done since Matrix that I haven't seen. And yeah, the only one that even Jupiter Ascending, there were things that I did like about it. I just thought that it was not their best work. That was the one where I felt like, if I had to guess, there was too much either studio involvement or studio meddling or studio agenda or some extra, maybe just studio appeasement, or we just got to do this to make the studio happy. I don't know. There was an element that I felt was out of place, if that makes sense. Like I felt like the target audience was not something that the Wachowskis necessarily picked. I don't know. Something just felt not normal there. And I really like Mila. So yeah, there was like a casting issue. I felt like there was some casts that weren't really pulling their weight, where usually in Wachowski films, I feel like it's usually really well cast from top to bottom. Like Cloud Atlas was outstanding in the casting department. I mean, you got Tom Hanks and Halle Berry. I don't really need to say much more. But yeah, like I said, I mean, when I go down the list of films that they've done since then, and I always count the Sense8 series finale as a film because it was as long as a movie. Yeah, I don't think that artistically their work has really been that bad. And that's the thing, as an artist, when you come out of the gate with something like The Matrix, I mean, you've got two choices. You can always try to chase that, which you're probably not going to beat, or you can just keep making art. And you know what I'm saying? See where the chips fall. I mean, I've had that. I mean, not that kind of success, but just, creating music. Like, if you come out with something that's like really, really hitting and, everybody's feeling it, it's like, okay, how do I top that? How do I beat that? It can be very challenging. so we got somebody in the comments that says I couldn't finish Jupiter.
and honestly, I couldn't finish it either. But I do want to mention, just to kind of go off on a good note, V for Vendetta. I think they did the screenplay for that, and they did they were co-producing Ninja Assassin. But V for Vendetta, when Evie wakes up in the underground layer, and like they're showing all the books that he's read, and it's like you turn around and the books are just literally piled up to the ceiling. It was like it reminded me of like all those Agent Smiths in the Burly Brawl. It's just more and more in excess, and more than you need, and more than you would figure. It was really good production. It drove the point home.
Yeah, and like you said, when you mentioned the Burly Brawl, I mean, V for Vendetta had Hugo Weaving, and when you have the Wachowskis and Hugo Weaving, who's also in Cloud Atlas, I mean, you just got, I mean, that's just a home run. I mean, I understand why, so many fans were upset that Hugo wasn't in the Matrix 4 or isn't going to be in the Matrix 4. But like Hugo said, he's like, I've worked with them so much in the past 20 years that I'm not going to cry about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's been in a lot of Wachowski stuff. And when you talk about V for Vendetta, I've always liked Natalie Portman. I've liked her since The Professional,
Yes.
So I spoke to that before. I felt like, in general, the casting in a Wachowski film bound. You've got Joey Pants and Gina Gershon, and why am I not remembering the other actress's name right now? Bride of Chucky. Love her voice. She's a poker player too.
Is it Parker Posey?
No. I'm just gonna
think of someone else.
It's gonna kill me if I don't. Hold on.
I'll Google it.
I'm on it. Jennifer Tilly.
Now I'm gonna look up Parker Posey and see why I'm confusing.
But yeah, that bound cast was, I mean, and it was a small, it was there was only 5-6 roles in that film, so I thought it was, like I said, top to bottom, great casting.
Solid movie.
Yeah, I mean, it really. What's funny is, because they had to do that one to get the green light for The Matrix. But what's funny is, we know Joey Pants is in both. He's Cypher in The Matrix. He's, the mob guy and Bound. But when you look at Bill Pope did the cinematography for both. So you know what I mean? Like when you're looking like inside those old buildings in The Matrix, like they have a very, like it's almost had like this wet, dark look that they shared. And the Wachowskis were painters prior to making movies, so they were very authentic with the look of the walls and stuff like that. I just thought that was something that kind of carried over from one film to the next, and at that time it was almost like their signature. And then when you bring up Speed Racer, I felt like Right, because even V for Vendetta still had that very dark, danky look to it. And then you go to Speed Racer and it's just bright, you know? I mean, it's really this full feature action cartoon. I mean, and that's the thing. I had remembered seeing some original Speed Racers when I was like really, really little. It came out before I was born, but still I could appreciate what they had done making a feature film out of a cartoon like that. I didn't see the big deal. Like, I didn't know what people expected when you go to see Speed Racer on the big screen. I went to see it in the theater and I thought it was fine. I mean, John Goodman, Christina Ricci, once again, the casting was outstanding. Like, I was entertained. I wasn't looking for this philosophical mind bender with Speed Racer.
Yeah, Christina Ricci. You can't go wrong. Sidebar, I hope she plays Morticia in a reboot.
That would be awesome. Yeah, no, she's still acting. She's still putting in work on the low. Erin says Bound takes place in the Matrix. I like that. Cypher before he was unplugged.
No objection. Cypher after he goes back.
All right, are you going Cypher right on me now? We believe that Cypher was reinserted into the Matrix after all.
Listen, Gray said there's no such process. What he didn't say, because Crypto's hyper jumped away, he said yet. So it's possible.
Oh, well, we know it's possible, and this came up in Discord. Is it? It's not asset to the system. There is a Matrix comic where someone legitimately gets reinserted into the Matrix. So we've got evidence that the process is possible. Now, timeline-wise, we don't know if that was before or after Cypher. But we do know that the machines can put someone back into the Matrix who was red-pilled.
Good enough.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, speaking of Matrix comics, I'm gonna do another one, and that's gonna wrap up the first series of the printed editions. Well, that's the thing. I was gonna say, with the 20th anniversary, like if I go along the timeline of the 20th anniversary edition, it follows the order of series 1, but then after that, it's not super crazy. They like do one, and then they go into the one that was the first one of series 2. But then you got to remember, they have ones in the 20th anniversary that wasn't printed before. So, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of takes its own order of Matrix comics at that point. So I haven't really decided how I'm going to play that yet.
Yeah, how helpful is this with you doing these comics? Because I spend a lot of time trying to make content in my spare time. So just having these where I could just listen to your voice and get the Matrix story and details of it too. Because the Matrix comics that I've read over and over and reread recently, you're pulling out details that I haven't either like picked up on before or haven't like reflected on. So when you're mentioning these details, it's it makes me feel, for those comics that I haven't read very deeply, it makes me feel like I'm getting the whole picture. So I appreciate it. I like that you do those, and if so, then keep on doing them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for watching it. It's definitely a labor of love, like, because there's so many more than I remembered. So like once I started like really getting into it, I'm like, man, this is a lot. But I noticed that, like you said, I'm doing the narration, so I noticed that they're not really anywhere on YouTube like that. I mean, there's a couple people who have reviewed them and talked about them a little bit, but to go through all of them, I don't think anybody's done that yet. And the other side of that is, like you said, when I read them the first time, because I didn't catch them as they were coming out in the What is the Matrix website. I didn't catch them until we were playing Matrix Online. You know what I mean? So that was like my first wind of the Matrix comics. So I didn't read all of them on the website. I mean, I probably read like a handful, like 5, 6 maybe. Definitely the Second Renaissance. Well, rather, the B1 trial. I don't remember what it's titled as a comic off the top of my head, but and Let It All Fall Down I saw online
Is it
for
bits and
sure.
pieces?
I'm sorry.
Is it bits and pieces?
Yes, bits and pieces of information. Thank you.
Yeah, I first picked up Volume 1. Now I had known that the Matrix comics was coming out, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be a series, like a monthly or a mini series or something. So I was kind of looking out for it, but like not really shopping for it. This was kind of before the internet was, you just go on, look it up, and it shows up to your house. So I remember I went to a comic shop in a college town, and I happened to see it, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting it. And I started reading it before I even left the shop, but the pages were all falling out because it was that
Yeah, the
punk.
glue, the binding is not
Yeah,
real
yeah,
good on those printed versions. Yeah, I have that. I mean, I have the pages, but I know exactly what issue you're talking about.
yeah. So having the hardcover 20th anniversary one is real nice. That's something that I can leave out on the table, and won't get destroyed by the little ones.
Yeah, your experience finding the Matrix comic is actually similar to my experience with the Animatrix, because I mean they didn't really advertise any of this stuff. They didn't advertise the Matrix online that well. They didn't really advertise the Animatrix or the comics, not on a large scale anyway. And I was in the mall, and it was like I don't know if it was Spencer's or like one of those kind of stores. It was just like sitting on a shelf. I'm like, really? Like, this is legit. This is Matrix franchise right now. Like, fortunately it was because it came out the same year as the what's that
Reloaded.
Reloaded and Revolutions. Yeah, I believe it was 03, 04 at the latest. But I was fortunate to see it when around when it was released to DVD. But
Okay,
it was like a total surprise.
so I think that it came out the same day as Reloaded and the same day as Enter the Matrix. I think. Now I might be wrong, but I think that it was like a same day release for all three. And the other thing I'll say is, yeah, I had a similar experience with finding out the advertising. My interpretation of their advertising, it's like they're trying to leave people out. So when people think that like Matrix 4 is going to answer questions like who is Sati, they're not going to touch it. They're not going to let us know if there's a Matrix within a Matrix, and they're not going to rule it out. They're not going to answer any of our questions. They're not going to let us know how Neo has his real world powers. The Matrix franchise is like that popular girl that just throws you enough to keep you interested, but basically ignores you and keeps you coming after them. They don't want to answer those questions. They just want us fighting about it on Reddit and
Right.
having some good discussions, nigh arguments on Reddit lately. So shout out to the boys on Reddit and the girls. Very good discussions and some challenging stuff too. When you think you have everything figured out, you hear people talking about things, and you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'll wait to respond.
Now, no, you're right. They do just enough to be able to keep us engaged and debating with each other. Shout out to Beverly, a strong, loyal supporter of the channel. She says not much advertising anywhere on this. Why? Now it's funny because I was going to say just what you were talking about, and it might answer this question a little bit. And this is my speculation. It might be one of those things where the Wachowskis felt that if they got a large advertising budget for, like you said, Enter the Matrix was advertised. Actually, it was more the Animatrix and the comics specifically we're talking about here, and the Matrix Online. So think of those areas of the Matrix universe. It might have been the thought that if they had requested a large budget from Warner or Village Roadshow or whoever, that they would have had to relinquish some control creatively. That, then all of a sudden you've got the studio exec saying, well, we need you to do this, this, and this with it because we gave you X amount of budget to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we didn't, they just hoped that the internet and word of mouth would allow it to blossom on its own so that they could take a little bit of money and do whatever they wanted. And that's just a theory. But
well,
but
I'm
right.
sure I'm sure they're crafty in the business, and they know how things work, and they got a plan.
Now, the other thing too is to go back to the comics that you brought up. We talk about the details in the videos when I'm narrating and stuff, and you helped me break down that butterfly one really well. So I'm not too proud to reach out to phone a friend when I need a hand there, but yeah, that's the thing. So I read the printed versions, and then like you said, when the 20th anniversary, the hardcover came out, I got it immediately. By then, the channel was already up and running, so I knew I had to have a copy. But after having gone deeper into the Matrix universe and us going over the different storylines of the Matrix Online, you just kind of see things with fresh eyes. So when I read it now, there are things that jump out because there might be a link to something in an Animatrix episode or a link to something in a different comic, and it's like, well, I've read all the comics recently, so it's it's fresh. Whereas before it was kind of just all scattered and new. So yeah, that part of it is definitely fun. And it's interesting to see the little connections, like the link thing, and there's a Pequod reference, different hovercrafts and stuff like that. So I think the Wachowski did a great job of allowing their collaborators and other artists to come into their universe that they created. Like, they're really great at world building, but they're also great at allowing others to create within that world without the stories clashing. You know what I mean? Like, they really have this great balance of letting their co-collaborators have artistic freedom, pun intended, with each other and their own individual works, and it not be a problem. I mean, like, we went through each individual Matrix comic, and you and I kind of agreed that the Peter Page ones, I mean, that's only 2 comics and only 1 artist who kind of clashed with the universe. I mean, the rest of them we could consider canon without really having any type of consistency issues.
Yeah, and boy, wow, you were saying something flew right out of my head.
While you think of that, I want to shout out Franz. Franz is in the building, another loyal supporter of the channel, has been here for many moons. So shout out to you. Thank you for joining us in this live stream here. Erin says here, maybe they want a groundswell of old fans bringing in new fans instead of a huge slick advertising push. Yeah, and that's another thing. Going back to the original Matrix, a lot of those websites aren't around anymore, and I missed that wave. Like I said, I didn't really get into being online with my Matrix fandom until the Matrix Online and Data Node 1 and that whole experience. But right after the first Matrix, hundreds of Matrix related websites popped up of fans just talking about it. And so, yeah, there was an internet push. There was just an internet, as they put it, groundswell of fans, so that could have been part of it too. Just thinking, okay, well, if we just put this, the fans will take care of it. If we just put it out there, it'll get to who wants to find it, who wants to go that far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I miss those websites, and there's a couple that are still around. What is the Matrix.it is an Italian website, and I think that they've been around consistently for the last 20 years. I really think so, because I remember finding out that there's a couple of players from the Matrix Online that I think run that website, and they are I've learned about them during playing the Matrix Online, and they're still going. That website's still on. So considering how close the Matrix Online was to the films, that website may have been, maybe the original or the sequels, but I think right on through. And I did remember what I was going to say before.
Excellent.
You were talking about world building and having these other creative people come into their universe and create. They did set a couple of rules and a couple of boundaries. Like, I think, and I believe I got this from you, so you could probably expand on it. As far as the Sentinels, they were told don't make them human-like. And was it something to do with the agents in World Record to differentiate them?
With the Sentinels, that's definitely something I heard from the concept artist Jeff Darrow. That was a rule that he mentioned in an interview somewhere that they didn't want that. If what you're saying about the world record, the only place I would have been able to get that was when I was making the video for that. You know, that would have been one of the Ultimate Matrix Collection. Actually, no, excuse me. That would be a DVD extra on the Animatrix DVD. You can go into like the behind the scenes of each episode. That's where. So that would have been one of the people that worked on that project specifically. One of the artists who shared that information.
Yeah, I remember watching those when the, back in like the 2003, 2004. I think I watched all of them for, like the Matrix Revisited, the Matrix Reloaded, Revisited. And, it always motivated me. It made me like want to like move to California and get in the movies. And it was like, I've never had that feeling before or after, but like watching those things, I was like, I want to get involved in this. I somehow want to get involved in making these Matrix movies. And of course, by then it was too late.
Well, I wouldn't say it's too late because I honestly think that, like I said in the podcast that we were in, like what was that, a week and a half ago or whatever?
The Matrix podcast, yeah,
the Matrix podcast. You know, like I was saying, I feel like there can definitely be more to come, whether it's streamers or video games or more comics. But at this point, it's up to us, the fans, to demand it. Basically, to again, to use that word that was mentioned here in this live stream, the groundswell. That's on us. This franchise is at that precipice where it can go into that Star Wars, Star Trek realm of being a generational franchise, but we've got to hold it up. We've got to, be deep in the party, and they'll keep giving us more if we're here celebrating it. I definitely believe that. I definitely think that that's one of the motivations behind the channel, was to kind of connect Matrix fans and just let others know that you're not alone. We're out here because, I think part of it, and Star Wars went through this too. I feel like early on, like Grandma's Boy, you know what I'm saying? Like there was definitely a wave where it was like, oh, you were just labeled like a nerd or, whatever. If you were a hardcore Matrix fan, like, that was not cool, but now it's so embedded in pop culture. I mean, there's just Matrix references everywhere. So like I said, this is our turn to shine. It's the fans' turn to take this thing to the next level. And if we stick together and support the franchise, I think that we will get a lot more. So who knows whether or not you have an opportunity to be a part of a production at some point. It is not impossible. We'll go ahead and try to will that into existence together.
Yeah, I just remember feeling very motivated. Like I wanted to get up and do something, and it was I don't know, just something about these movies is just hitting just right, and I sure hope I get a little glimmer of that again with this next movie.
Shout out to Jay Scotty. He said good night. He's I guess signing off from the live stream, but as he goes, I see Matrix Spider-Man is in here, so shout out to Matrix Spider-Man, another consistent supporter of the channel. It's always good to see you guys here. We got Franz, Matrix Spider-Man, and Beverly, and Jay Scotty. So it's good to see you guys all together here in this live stream. Matrix Spider-Man says there is no trailer.
Patience, the trailers are coming.
Okay, so yeah, Beverly here says they did a re-edit on the Matrix 4 not long ago. I saw the clip. Okay, so in the last live stream, we talked about that, Beverly, and we don't know what that is. Yes, it could be a reshoot. It could be an additional CGI shot for the Matrix 4. It could be for a Matrix video game. I mean, they've done, CGI shoots on Jada Pinkett Smith and Enter the Matrix way back in 2003. So, it's nothing outside of the realm of this franchise, and we know that Keanu Reeves had on a CGI suit for Cyberpunk 2077. So we know that Keanu Reeves is also willing to do that kind of work. So, they were real nondescript about what was going on out there in Berlin. I kind of lean towards what you're saying, that it's more likely to have been an extra scene or a reshoot of some sort. Again, I think if that's the case, that's more evidence to support the idea that the release date might get delayed again. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that it's for a video game. I also would really like a Matrix 4 or a Matrix video game, but we're gonna see how that all plays out.
I'm putting the title for the Matrix podcast into the chat right now. So if anybody is up for watching, or you can watch or listen, you can check that out. I believe it went about 60 minutes.
Yeah, it was an hour, like an hour flat. Yeah.
Good time, good Matrix talk. What a good dude Albert is.
Yeah, no, he's got great energy. Another great Matrix fan. I did tweet that out too. So if you're following me on Twitter, you can find a link to the podcast there. Vesuvius and I just kind of chopped up some Matrix with him, and he just got it started. So it was fun to be a part of the very first episode there. I'm sure that we will be guests in the future at some point.
Yeah, good energy. Him as well makes me just feel really good while I'm talking to him. I had to go back and listen to that. So like if I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna like just go back and just listen to the parts where he's talking.
But yeah, I got into what we were just talking about there as well. I mean, I definitely feel the connection between Matrix fans growing as the hype of the movie grows. I think it's going to explode when the movie is released. I have a real hard time believing that the Matrix 4 is going to be complete trash. It's possible. Anything's possible, especially with the movies that come out today. But I just have a lot of faith in Lana Wachowski's ability to collaborate and put together strong teams. I look at the resumes of the cast and the crew, and it's just, if it's not a home run, I mean, it's going to be at least a triple. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to get on the base, man. Like, there's no way this thing is going to be a complete flop. I just don't believe it. And again, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not going to be, if I don't like it, I'll say I won't like it. You know what I mean? Or if there's things I don't like about it, I'll admit that there's things I don't like about it. But we'll see when we get there. I've got, I'm trying to stay even keel with my expectations. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Speaking about things I didn't like, because we were talking about Jupiter Ascending before. I think for me, was it Tatum Channing, the guy that played Magic Mike, and he's in 21 Jump Street and the original Step Up, right?
Tatum
Channing, Tatum, Channing, something like that.
Yes. You got the syllables right.
Yeah, right. It's one or the other, vice versa, whatever.
Yeah, Channing.
Yeah. I thought that was a bad cast. He didn't fit Jupiter for me personally. I mean, and I think it's not that I have like a problem with him specifically. I think he was really funny in 21 Jump Street. I think he was the perfect cast for that original Step Up or whichever one he was in. I'm pretty sure that was the original. But yeah, I just wasn't buying it in Jupiter. But we'll see who's playing who in the Matrix 4. There's definitely we're all wondering what Neil Patrick Harris is doing, if he's going to be a good guy, a bad guy, or neutral. That's definitely a big question mark. Yaya's doing great things. I really like Jessica Henwick's work up to this point. I've seen Priyanka do hit or miss, but I also I only started watching some of her work once I found out that she's going to be in the Matrix 4. So I'm sure that she's done a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. I saw her in the Netflix film, The White Tiger, I think is what it was called. It's fairly recent, last couple months. And I thought she was the best actor, period, in that film. Like, I thought she carried most of the weight as far as acting performances in that movie. So she can handle a large role. She can definitely do it. Because remember, I don't know if you remember on Twitter, like when they first, or rather when the internet caught wind of her being in the Matrix 4, because there was like this break, right? Like I reported it, and then it was like a few months later that it seemed like the rest of the internet really caught on to the fact that she was in it. And then there was like this wave of Priyanka Chopra hate that just like flooded the timeline. I was like, what's going on here? Why does everybody hate this woman?
Yeah, apparently it's like Indian fans that hate her, and has something to do with Bollywood. she ruined Bollywood or something. I have no idea. I feel like I'm getting this information third hand. If
Yeah, same. Like
I
I don't
say,
know enough about there was a Bollywood beef with like an existing, like whoever was the queen of Bollywood at the time. I guess she bumped heads with whoever that was at some point.
these things are gonna happen. You shake hands,
Yeah.
you walk away. If you're not sure about Priyanka Chopra, go follow her on Instagram, because what she's been posting the last week will make you a very big fan. She's gorgeous, and my goodness.
Yeah, wasn't she like
My
Miss
goodness.
Universe or something like that? She won some type of beauty pageant before she was a big actress.
My goodness, she is absolutely gorgeous.
So okay, here we got Erin says NPH Neil Patrick Harris is Flood. I'm calling it now.
I was gonna say I say that he plays a different role every time he gets brought up. And this time I was gonna say he plays Flood. He plays Flood. Flood was Italian. Okay. Not a lot of people know that. Flood was Italian. I don't know if he can play in Italian, but we'll see.
Okay, so we got this. This is a great comment here. It says Armando says the graphics of Matrix 4 logo resemble the black and white cinematic scenes in Matrix Online. There might be a connection there. That I didn't pick up on that, but you know what he's talking about when they went from the original cinematics to like the rare bit cinematics.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, great
No.
eye. I
Hold
never
on.
picked up on that. That's awesome.
Hold on. Did you see who just posted in your comment section, your live comment section?
Oh, this is like, dude, this is like, what is this? This is like Matrix Universe energy. He makes a Matrix Online comment, and then we have the great Paul Chadwick saying that he enjoys the stream. Wonder if you know why Wachowski's never worked with Don Davis since the trilogy. Those were great scores. That's actually a great question. I don't know the official answer to that. And just from the outside looking in, I know that coming into Matrix 4, it appears that the same music that was used for Cloud Atlas, or was it Tom Twyker? I believe they're using the team that did the scores from Cloud Atlas for the Matrix 4. So that would be the connection there. But to answer the question of why we haven't gotten any Don Davis since the Matrix trilogy, I don't know. That's not something that like Bill Pope or anybody has mentioned specifically in an interview. I did read an interview from Don Davis recently. I think they're like putting out the original Matrix score music on like this really cool green vinyl. But he didn't mention anything about. Did you see that?
I saw that, yeah. And I don't collect the vinyl, but I think I might go for that just because it's Matrix related and it's freaking cool. And
yeah, it looks great.
It kind of fits that time period of the Matrix, like the almost it's like a mix of futuristic tech and old tech, like inside the Matrix. So I think that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and around that time, I did make a video where I mentioned, he kind of did a Lawrence Fishburne thing where he confirmed that he's not involved in the Matrix 4, but he didn't say any specific reason why. He didn't, cite a schedule conflict or anything like that. He just like I said, like Lawrence Fishburne style, he just kind of said he wasn't invited and kept it moving. But that he's still plenty busy. He's still getting work. And he's gonna always be remembered with that classic film. So yeah, I don't have the sleuth answer to that question, but it's a great question. And thank you for being here, joining the live stream energy. All these Matrix fans here chopping it up and having a good time. And thank you for your world building, sir. I have to say, if you're still listening, Let It All Fall Down was certainly one of the most moving Matrix comics that I read. Like I said, I read it when it was still on whatisthematrix.com, and it hit me then. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for sharing and asking a question here.
Yeah, Paul Chadwick, the godfather of the Matrix Online. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Love the story. Love that you're interactive on Twitter. Love that you're here watching this stream right now. So many questions from Paul Chadwick, but I'll hit you up on Twitter, sir.
Yeah, and that was the other thing too. That's how I knew you were for real, V. Because when I saw your channel on YouTube, when I ran it, because I don't remember if we ran into the emulator forum first or where it was first, but when I ran into your YouTube channel and I saw that Paul Chadwick interview from, what was it, like the SOE event?
Yeah, it was Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con and SOE Block Party, like 2006
The block party.
or 7.
Yeah, dude, I was listening to that interview. I'm like, all right, this guy Vesuvius is no joke. I'm like, where did you find this? Like,
I had that on, oh boy, what was the station? It was called thex.fm, and that was the website and the online radio station. And I loaded that onto my iPod, 3rd generation iPod. And I used to plug that into my car because I had an adapter, and I just used to listen to Matrix Online interviews. I remember just particularly driving to the airport to pick up this girl I was dating at the time, and I listened to it on the way, and then when I picked her up, we listened to it on the way back. So good memories.
so real quick, Matrix Spider-Man says, why Agent Smith not on the Matrix Resurrection? So the popular answer is that there was a scheduling conflict, but I believe that Hugo Weaving cleared that up, and that yes, he was scheduled to do a play in Europe around the time, but that they could have worked around, like, he moved his schedule around a little bit, and that they worked it whatever timeline that the Matrix 4 schedule was. He could have done it, but by then, Lana said they decided to go another way. So, we fast forward, then the pandemic happened. It sounds like, from where I'm sitting, that, there was Agent Smith in the original Matrix 4 script, and then in between them talking about it and actually going into production, they either took him out or he's just a reference now. But like I said, in Hugo Weaving's words, they just decided to go another way. And like I mentioned earlier, he's done so much work with them. He wasn't like, there's no hard feelings. He definitely said it in a way, professional way. But, he definitely said that, he would love to see everybody again. But, he's still plenty busy and still working and still loves the Wachowskis and all that fun stuff. So there's no beef. But yeah. And again, I love him as an actor. I thought he was great in The Matrix. I thought he was great in V for Vendetta. I thought he was great in Cloud Atlas. But yeah, I don't know that, like, I wasn't as upset about it as some other fans were that he's not going to be in it. I kind of understand, the shift as far, we don't know who the villain is going to be right now, but I understand, the logic of not bringing everyone back. Especially the way that, certain films that have sequels now, years later, are being, killed in, the box office and so on and so forth. I didn't want them to fall into that trap. So we'll see. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, that was what he answered. And I did a couple videos on that because he's addressed it a couple times in the media. So if you're looking for, his verbatim quotes, I've definitely gotten a couple Agent Smith videos up. Paul Chadwick here says Twyker and company should be great. The Run Lola Run score is a favorite of mine, and thanks for the kind words. Yeah, man. I thought the music in Cloud Atlas was pretty good, and like I said, I really feel like the production team that they put together for the Matrix 4, it just reads solid. It looks great on paper anyway. And yeah, thanks for the kind words. Thanks for being here. I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of your personal contributions to the Matrix universe, and it's like an honor for you to even be watching our channel right now, to be honest with you. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to all of this coming together. I mean, even picking Paul Chadwick for the Matrix Online for that experience, and that part of the Wachowskis picking people to build their universes, from the Animatrix to the Matrix comics. I think they do a really good job of who they let into world build, and we were talking about that earlier, just the way that other artists can come in and it not clash with what we already have. I mean, because I know I've definitely seen where like Star Wars has had that problem a little bit with things like, you know, people use retcon and so on and so forth. And, you know, I don't think that the Matrix universe really has that problem.
Can I say one thing about our question about Agent Smith?
Yes.
Agent Smith is different from Hugo Weaving. So, although we're not getting Hugo, we still may get Agent Smith. And I will say that he was portrayed by, and I forget this gentleman's name. He played Bane in Reloaded Revolutions, and he also played Agent Smith. And he actually did a very good job portraying Agent Smith.
Ooh, I didn't even think about the Bane connection. That is awesome. See, this is why I always invite you to these. I completely forgot about Bane playing Agent Smith. What I was going to do, which is funny because you're the Matrix Online archivist, I was going to jump to the Matrix Online and talk about the glitches that Agent Gray had in the Matrix Online where he was, you know, exposed to the Smith virus. So even after Revolutions, you explain it. This is your realm. Go ahead.
Neil
Talk
Patrick
about it.
Harris is going to play Agent Gray infected by Agent Smith. I'm calling
don't forget Hamilton, what's his name? Jonathan Groff. Don't forget about Jonathan Groff. He could be in that mix too.
Very well could be. I even think Toby Onmir could play a good agent. He's got that presence about him. And I'm only talking about the still shots that I've seen him because I haven't been researching my actors as much as you have. But when I first saw Toby Onmir, I started looking him up, and I was like, I kind of got the agent feel from him. And in the Matrix Online, we did have the African American agents. So I know the audience is gonna, you know, have its share to say, but this stuff has been introduced years ago. Get used to African American agents and women agents because we may get them on the big screen. And I hope we do, because that'll be a nod to the Matrix Online. I'll take that and run with it.
And speaking of Agent Smith, this is a great point that's as accurate. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Jay Scotty says there is a stunt double for Agent Smith according to the IMDb cast and crew credits.
Woo!
So it is listed. There is an Agent Smith in the Matrix 4 listed as a stunt double. So we'll see how it plays out. But at the very least, I would say it is safe to expect an Agent Smith reference in the Matrix 4. I think that's fair.
Having a stunt double is actually pretty big because Neo and Smith are like equal and opposites. So if we're gonna have Neo, we're gonna have Smith. Okay. Now I was kind of thinking, well, if Hugo's not coming back, you know, maybe Smith will summon. Maybe Neo will summon Smith, and that could be the cliffhanger or the lead in for a follow up or something like that. But if we're getting a stunt double, we might get some Agent Smith.
Right, some Agent Smith action.
Yeah.
Now here's a question. It says, Gerard says, would the new movie take place in a different version of the Matrix? So of course, anything we say right now is speculation. Project Ice Cream has done a great job of keeping a tight lid on, you know, all things plot related. Now, we were having this conversation not long ago. The jury is still out on whether or not the Matrix was reset or not. I mean, I did a poll on it, and you know, it seems to be, you know, pretty evenly split there. Like, you know, we can't be sure if this would be considered a new version of the Matrix. What I will say is that David Mitchell and Keanu Reeves both verified that there will be no time travel in the Matrix 4. So there's that. And writer David Mitchell also verified that they have acknowledged that 20 years has passed. So if I had to guess, 20 years has passed in the version of the Matrix where Sati painted the sky for Neo and we got to all play in the Matrix Online. Because if you remember, the new version of the Matrix in Rare Bit's ending isn't technically canon because we never got that far.
I can accept that.
I love the ending too, by the way. just for the record. But as far as the rest of the world is concerned, I think it's safe to say that the ending of Revolutions and the Matrix Online exist in the same world, and it would not surprise me if the Matrix 4 is a part of that world, especially with the reference that one of our live streamers just made with the black and white logo matching the black and white of the later cinematics. That was a really good observation.
Those were Paul Chadwick drawn and animated cinematics.
Oh, Chadwick drew some of those.
Chadwick drew those, and then after his time on the project ran out, then Rarebit did his, and those are very distinctly different drawing styles, and I really enjoyed all. I actually liked the Chadwick cinematics better than the in-game engine, and then Rarebits I really enjoyed too. The only thing with Rarebits is we didn't get sound. Some
Right.
players went in and did some sound, but very, very cool. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I know Rarebit style because I've seen Supermassive Black Hole, but I didn't know that Chadwick did the black and white ones. That's actually really cool. Yeah, and I agree. I like the in-game engine. I didn't have a problem with it. But yeah, when Chadwick's series came out, I thought they were really cool. I like that kind of comic element, especially because it kind of went with the storyline of Anome and all the superhuman powers and that kind of thing, the cheat codes, right? So it had a very like comic style to that part of the storyline as well. So I thought it fit.
Yeah, the Matrix started out. It was a live-action comic book. So for those, I'm still arguing on Data Node 1 forums right now, 15 years later. I'm arguing these cinematics were very good, and they followed a precedence. The Matrix was a comic. They were Matrix comics. Paul Chadwick was a accomplished comic book artist. Those cinematics were wonderful.
Well, that's what I'm learning going back through these comics. Like every comic artist that was part of the Matrix comics was an accomplished comic artist. Like they were not playing. Like they brought in the heavyweights, dude.
All right, let me just throw in a little bit of speculation about that last question about the version of the Matrix, if I may skip around a little bit. I was thinking, how could they bring Neo back and it still be version 6? And I'm thinking maybe they're getting him from another instance. So when Neo wakes up and we see the power plant in the Machine City, that's just one city in the Middle East. Okay, there's another city far, far away with a machine tower and pods and fields and a matrix, and it's got its own source. And they just went over and they put him on a USB drive and they took him over to their version where he had died and not reset the matrix.
Okay, so now here's what I'm going to say. There's some layers to this. What you just said, right? So let me start with there is lots of evidence that there's more than one Machine City. The first being when you're talking specifically to Matrix 4, that leak of the Mnemosyne or however you say that word, Mnemosyne, the plaque to the ship that's going to be in the Matrix 4.
Yeah,
because that said that was made in the UK, right?
Yes.
So that's the Matrix 4 one right now. Going through the comics, there are no flowers in the real world. When the guy's leg gets all jacked up in the real world and it's messed up in the Matrix, they said that his ship is outside of Tokyo in the real world or somewhere in Japan in the real world. Okay. So yeah, we don't know what their ship was doing way out there on the outside, but then when you jump to the Animatrix story Beyond, we know that takes place in a Japanese city inside the Matrix. So we get all these references of there being other places outside the Matrix of interest and other cities inside the Matrix. So I think that there's evidence to support that could be a possibility that what you just described could be something that plays out in the Matrix 4, because we know that in the Matrix Online, Morpheus demanded Neo's remains and the machines didn't say where they took him.
Yeah,
so they could have taken him to another Machine City.
I've got a very cool sound bit of the architect saying, that's not possible.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Um, oh right, real quick, Franz here says I'm tired of time travel. I was okay with time travel until Terminator Dark Fate, and then that just ruined all of it for me. Um, and I loved the Terminator, so that's why it like really hurt. But I do have more faith in the Matrix franchise, and that's the other thing. Like, if that's the bar, right? Like, I don't want to hear anybody complain about the Matrix 4 because there's no way it's going to be that bad of a dumpster fire. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't believe that for a second. But I got sidetracked. What were we talking about? Oh, right, we were talking about different machine cities and different places that Neo could be replugged into the Matrix there. And I guess this is kind of like a tangent here, but to any artist out there, or hey Chadwick, if you're interested, I am working on a fan fiction. I'm just a writer. I'm not an artist. I can't draw at all. But if there's any artists out there who would be interested in collaborating on such a project, I did open it up to the Discord, so I should open it up here too, because yeah, I think it only makes sense to have a visual element to kind of go with it, and it is a fan fiction, so it's not canon. But I think Matrix fans, especially Matrix fans that played the Matrix Online, will really appreciate it. So I thought I'd just put that out there real quick. Yeah.
Before I mentioned, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Wait.
I mentioned what is the Matrix.it earlier, and the team over there put together a Matrix comic as well. And I don't.
Oh, really?
I don't know the title of it, but it's in PDF format. It's downloadable. I believe it's free, because I asked, how do I purchase this from you? Because, if it's anything, and it's in the style of Matrix Online. So maybe we hit them up.
Okay, yeah, definitely link me to that. I'd love to read that. I haven't seen it myself, so
I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, or
okay.
Haven't downloaded it yet. But when I do, obviously I will share, and I'll probably plug it on my Instagram. And but yeah, I mean that might be an avenue as well. But if anybody else is interested in some Matrix comic, there is. You see, this is the exciting part about being in the fandom. Now we're getting closer to this theatrical release, and all the fandoms are cropping up.
Yep.
The
it's going to be worse once the movie comes out.
The flowers are breaking through the sidewalk. Okay, which is no Tupac reference, if anybody knows their Tupac.
Concrete jungle, baby.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And now they're all starting to crop up, and there's going to be all this good stuff. There's going to be all this good stuff for us to consume, not just the movie.
Speaking of the movie, Beverly here says a Matrix 5 ? Not sure what of the timeline. So there's a couple of schools of thought here. The first and I guess oldest is the Zach Penn script, which that was rumored first. And then when we found out about the Matrix 4, Zach Penn tweeted that his script is separate from Lana Wachowski's. So the first school of thought is that the Matrix 4 would be what we know has been produced and shot in Berlin, and the Matrix 5 would be the Zach Penn script. The next school of thought would be that the Matrix 4 that was shot in Berlin and written by Lana Wachowski and directed by Lana Wachowski is going to do great, and it's going to have a cliffhanger and leave the door open for a whole new trilogy that would be a Lana Wachowski Matrix 4, 5, and 6. So those seem to be the two most popular angles in terms of justifying a Matrix 5. It's not like John Wick 4 and 5, where the studio announced that they were absolutely making a 4 and 5. Zach Penn did say that his script was still very much on the table, so you can take that however you want to take that. But yeah, as far as the timeline, I mean, we don't even know specifically. I mean, we know there's no time travel, and like I mentioned, David Mitchell said that 20 years has passed for the Matrix 4. But yeah, we don't really still know the details of how everything is going to fit into place. So I can't then speculate on a Matrix 5 time travel, although I would not time travel, Matrix 5 timeline, excuse me, but I would say I think it's safe to expect that if there's going to be a prequel or a young Morpheus kind of theme, the only way that fits right now, based on what I've seen, is going to be with that Zach Penn script. Otherwise, I think it's only going to go forward. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of time travel as far as the Matrix 4 or 5 are concerned.
You know, I like to think of time travel in the Matrix, you know, through the lens of the comic Goliath by Neil Gaiman.
Goliath.
I cited that in a video I did on my YouTube channel called Time Travel in the Matrix, and it's more like time manipulation. Think of playing a DVD, if you ever played DVDs, and fast forwarding the movie. You know, the timeline of the movie is going to accelerate and go back, but your timeline, your life, is going to keep going at the continuous regular rate that you're living at. So things like that we've seen from Goliath are possible. Who knows if that's going to happen in the Matrix 4? I tend to think that was going to the timeline is going to overcomplicate the plot, because if you think about the Matrix movies, they're very complex. Okay, the first one blew everyone's mind. The second one said everything you learned in the first one is not the case, and then in Reloaded, and then in Revolutions, it kind of reestablished things with a lot of questions unanswered. So I don't think that they're going to bring time travel in. If they do, it might just be a subplot like that Avengers Endgame. You know, it was a way to bring that antagonist back and change some things, but I don't know that they'll do that with the Matrix and how complicated it is.
So, okay, all right, we got a couple comments here. It says, yes, Keanu is in John Wick 4 and 5, but they have said it all depends on how things go. So I think that is a fair, I think I saw a story where they kind of backpedaled, because I think at first it was like, yeah, we're definitely doing 4 and 5. And then I think they kind of like took a step back, but they plan on doing a 5, but they got to see how 4 does or something like that. And the same would probably apply to the Matrix. And that brings us to our next comment. It says, I would guess they are leaving it open to test the market for new Matrix media after so long. And that's kind of why I've been banging this drum of connecting fans. And I mean, you know, if we want more, you know, I think the first place that we can start is just supporting all the stuff that's already out. I mean, if you don't have the comics, get the comics. Play Path of Neo or Enter the Matrix. You know, if you don't have the Ultimate Matrix collection, you know, grab that, or Art of the Matrix, or whatever. I think that, you know, us going out and supporting the film is going to be the first metric. But I mean, overall, if we as fans, you know, like I said, continue to celebrate it, you know, I put it in that Future of the Matrix video here on this channel. The CEO of Village Roadshow, you know, he talked about the experience of the pandemic, and it looks like they're in position to do a streamer. I mean, obviously, HBO Max is tied with Warner, so, you know, at the very least, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Matrix stream show or series or limited series or something of that nature. But dude, I want it all. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep talking about this universe. I want what Star Wars has for us. That, to me, that's the end game. That's the goal. The goal is for this to be a generational franchise that you can watch with your kids and, you know, keep the thing going. And because what I always loved about the Matrix universe is, for me, it's like chess. Like, it's like this ongoing mental practice. Like, when you watch the Matrix trilogy, you are engaged in this process of, you know, breaking down and deconstructing thought and reconstructing thought. And I just think that's such a healthy process, to be able to step outside of your beliefs and go to the root or the source code of them and say, why do I believe this? And sometimes you'll tear them down and bring them back up. And sometimes you'll tear them down and say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. And that's healthy. That's good. I think that's something that should be practiced and should be celebrated. And I feel like the Matrix franchise really promotes that and gets your mind in a place to practice that line of thinking. And I mean, you can say that about, all kinds of thought experiments and philosophical text, but the Matrix takes that type of philosophical background and puts it in an entertaining space, in a theatrical delivery, and it's brilliant. And I want more. I'll just leave it at that. I want to see more, and I think that we can, as a group of hardcore Matrix fans, demand more. We can be the angry mob knocking on Warner's door saying, "Take our money. We're not leaving until you do."
Yeah, I'd like to see some. The Matrix. It is a complex story, so I'd like to see like that online masterclass where somebody compares the Matrix to, Greek mythology and biblical study, and what else do we have? Philosophical ideas and paradigms, and not just the allegory of the cave, Plato's cave, because that one, I mean, it's very upfront. There's direct quotes from that, but some of the deeper stuff, and that's where I lack in my Matrix knowledge, is like I could tell you the events and what happened and who was involved, but I can't really relate the meanings of those things, as far as those philosophies and mythologies go. Those are the things that I really enjoy learning about.
Well, and that's the thing. They packed in so much. I mean, there's so many, I mean, a lot of stuff I didn't even find until I started, digging and research for this channel. And that's the fun of the experience is, you think you saw it and picked up on everything, and then you find out a whole new, rabbit hole of references. Real quick, Jay Scotty says the Merovingian also has a stunt double according to the IMDb cast and crew credits. Yeah, someone actually pointed out to me on I think Twitter. Might have been Instagram, but that's also a great point. I did verify that with my own two eyes as well on IMDb. So, it is very likely that the Merovingian will have some action scenes, or maybe he's the actor who was caught by the Trinity-looking actress jumping off the roof. Who knows? I don't know. And Aaron says, I want to see more of the Merovingian organization. I wanted to see more about the exiles. The exiles, or rather, I would say the Merovingian specifically had a pretty large role in the Matrix Online. But the exiles always, I thought, for me, were a point of interest. I almost expected the twins to be back in Revolutions. They were in the Matrix Online, so there's that. But yeah, I'm curious to see if like Arandira Ibarra and Brian J. Smith are playing Cyphrites or exiles, or if we're going to see some exiles. I mean, I imagine that we'd have to see at least some Merovingian exile related guys. Although, Lambert Wilson says that the Merovingian was down on his luck since we've last seen him. So we don't know what that really means. I mean, he might not be the same mob boss that we last saw in the Matrix Online, but I have a hard time seeing him falling completely from power. I mean, that would just be weird, right?
He seems a little too smart for that. He may be playing coy. I don't want to speculate.
Misdirection.
Too much. Yeah, but that's a little bit surprising to hear. Like, that makes me really want to watch to see, because the Merovingian has survived so much, and you're talking about a measly 20 years. He's hundreds of years old, maybe 1,000, and you're telling me that the last 20 he's down on his luck. What happened?
Well, see, when you say it like that, that makes me go back to the down on his luck might be specific to Persephone. I mean, that might be the writing out of Monica Bellucci. Maybe things hadn't worked out with he and his wife, and he doesn't have a new main squeeze, so to speak. That might be how he's down on his luck, but he's still the mob boss that we know and love to hear curse in French.
Yeah, he had some cool interviews where he talked about some research that he did to stay up on the French lingo from the kids, what the kids are saying. But yeah, I think I'm convinced Neil Patrick Harris is playing Persephone. They've broken up. It's been a flawed relationship.
Anything is
relationship
possible in
is
the
going to
Matrix.
resurrect.
All right. Well, wow, we've been at this for an hour and a half. It's funny because like the first 15 minutes like feels like forever, and then we start talking, and then you blink, and like a whole hour has passed.
It's the endorphins.
So yeah, no, time flies when you're having fun. Excuse me. Man here says it's a continuation, guys. It's the peace version about to erupt.
Yeah. If you know, I think it's very possible that the Matrix Online gets retconned. I don't think it will happen, but if it does remain canon, then the truce has already failed. So we'll see. You know, before we had shaky peace, now we're gonna have like a shaky. Are we all out war, or is this? Are we still trying to make up? What's going on?
Well, you know how I feel. I think I mentioned this on the Discord not too long ago, but yeah, I don't think that there's gonna be a complete retconning of the Matrix Online. I mean, we'll see. Of course, we're not gonna know till the movie comes out, but because of the history of, like I said, going through these comics and all these different world builders working in the Matrix universe, within this realm, but not clashing, I'm having a hard time. Like, to me, it would just be out of character to then say, you know what, we're just going to completely erase the Matrix Online. Now, the Matrix 4 storyline might go outside of it and not reference it at all, but I just have a hard time visualizing a storyline that takes the time to erase stuff that happened in the Matrix Online. Like I said, I see this Jada Pinkett Smith telling Neo or Trinity or both that she avenged the death of Morpheus by killing the assassin herself. And that's the only Matrix Online reference in the Matrix 4. Like, I could definitely see that being a possibility.
Yeah, having Niobe in there is makes me hopeful. Niobe is such a badass character. Man, I just keep saying it. So excited to see these characters back in play. You know, I hope we have some tension like we did with Revolutions. I hope we get to see some explosions, some really freaking cool explosions, like the helicopter into the skyscraper.
Oh, we're definitely going to see some helicopter action. That's for sure.
Right.
But yeah, no, like I said, Niobe had an expanded role in the Matrix Online. You know, the Merovingian was very important in the Matrix Online. They're both in the Matrix 4. So I am hopeful that we'll get more than a few Matrix Online references, but I understand that, you know, we were the niche within the niche, right? So I don't think it's going to be, you know, the live action Matrix Online. I don't think it's going to be like oversaturated with Matrix Online references. Of course, I could be surprised, but I just don't think it's going to go that way. But yeah, you know, and that's what, to circle back, you know, all the helicopters in downtown San Francisco is why they had to pay the San Francisco Police Department $420,000 to keep people off those blocks. Yeah. Well, all right. If there's anything, are you working on anything Matrix related right now, V?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm working on stuff. I'm working on some cool stuff. I've got this poster that I did a test print of. It's from the Matrix Online. It's the entire ability tree, all on one screen.
Wow.
It'll be available on print and download. And if you've got an Apple Watch, I'm coming out with some cool animated Apple Watch faces that'll be available on my Etsy soon.
Now, are you going to make this an NFT?
I don't know much about those, so probably
well,
no.
They're all the rage, man.
Yeah, I know, but I heard that there was something flawed with it, and I hear David After Dentist is going NFT. So if you want the only existing David After Dentist video, you can check that out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's me. I want this stuff out there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I definitely feel that energy. And that's kind of where I'm at with that fan fiction I was telling you about. I just want it out there for the fans who want to go that far down the rabbit hole of appreciating the characters and the universe, and it's just something to check out while we wait. And hopefully after the Matrix 4 we're going to get a lot more. I definitely, I can smell it, like like sometimes you can smell right before it's going to rain.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I feel. The storm's coming, baby. Well, all right, I think we're going to wrap up this session, this class of Matrix University. But again, please like the stream on the way out if you haven't already. You can always check out Vesuvius at Vesuvius MXO. Like you said, he's got some really good, well-produced YouTube videos that are Matrix related as well. So we always like to support each other within the community, especially all of us that hold each other up and circulate those good Matrix vibes. Because for me, that's always been an important point, an important lesson from the Matrix trilogy, is just to be out here in the real world, positive teamwork, working together. Teamwork makes the dream work. So with that, I believe class dismissed.